Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Yeah, tonight we've got a great topic ahead of us, digging into some of the phenomena, and most importantly, the Air Force. You know, we haven't heard a lot about the Air Force because for a lot of times, their answer has been no comment. But when you do some research and you run into a comment coming from the Secretary of the U.S. Air Force saying, yeah, they're not an imminent threat. We don't care about them in our skies. Probably because the U.S. Air Force was created to go ahead and track down the phenomenon in the first place. And they've got, 75 plus years of dealing with ships in the sky. Yeah, it's an interesting topic, an interesting subject to say the least. But on our way to get there, and part of the article was talking about an individual by the name of, where is it at? Here we go. My glasses. ADRIAN REISTER. I forgot to ask how to say his name. Did I get it right, Adrian?
No, it's Reister.
Reister, yeah, we'll get you in a second. Okay, so sorry about that. So yeah, life happens, stuff occurs, and I'm bad with names, so I was going to ask his name before we got there, but as we're getting ready for the show, he popped into the chat and say, hey, I never thought I'd be hanging out, seeing myself in a UFO show, and I looked at the name, and I was like, holy crap, is that you? And he's like, yeah, it's me. And sure enough, yeah, we've got a picture of him on the title card from when he was in the USAF, and believe it or not, Adrian had a similar, if you want to call it encounter, with those shadow people who were reported to be at Area 2, I believe Nellis Air Force Base, back in, I believe it was the 80s or 90s. And in addition to that, seeing a couple orbs flying around when we're dealing with nuclear weapons, it all kind of ties into everything about the phenomena that we've all heard about and dealt with so many times in the past. Let me turn Gary off because he's out right now. So before I get this thing going, it's not about me or Rob or Adrian. Well, maybe it is about Adrian to a degree, but this show is about each and every single one of you. So before we get that going, let me go ahead and get my link from the chat, because I'm sure I didn't bring it over just to make sure I did. Let me go to the chat capture, bring that up. Change the properties. Oh yeah, it's different. All right. And of course, I didn't copy it right. What else is new? If there's not one hiccup, there's going to be another. Let's go ahead and try and see if Carabine's right. There we go. Carabine's right. Came up. It is right. It is rock and rolling. Welcome, everybody. Not only have Carabine's right in the first, taking in the gold, we have Julie Farrell. Thomas giggles. Welcome, Julie. We don't have the giggle sound effect. I'll need to get that from Gary when he's around again. Coming in third place for the silver. He is in the chat, and he's also in the back. Adrian Reister. He's right behind us, right over here. So great to have you here. Who else do we have? We've got John Music as well. Hey, are you finally going to reactivate the Melon app so I can rejoin in the video chat? Yes, we'll be getting there. We'll be having guests coming in, usually on Fridays when we do it. That's when we do our drinks and UFOs. Sometimes you got to hang out, be a little bit less serious, and from a content perspective, just makes things a little bit easier to deal with when we've got great topics and great people to go ahead and talk with here. Not that you're not great, John. You do a lot of things on a lot of channels, but wait a minute. We've got Linda Thompson. I think it's Linda Thompson. Has Linda Thompson been possessed by Bob Perkins? Maybe. Linda, welcome. Welcome, Julie Farrell, your Linda sister, your Phenomena sister. I wonder if they've got a show or something they're working on. They could be. If they do, looking forward to it. Jonathan Horvat just popping in, out on vacation. Yeah, everybody needs a vacation sometimes. Hell, I was just on a vacation. I wish I could go back on it. Dave, also known as Uchrona Utopia, here for the big scoop. The world is waiting. So am I. We've got Rob Heatherly, also known as Robin Hood 1966. He is on Twitter, he is on YouTube, and he is in the chat, and he is in the back. Welcome, Rob. Looking forward to talking with you tonight as well. We also have, if my screen doesn't scroll too damn fast, Anna Kaufer. Well, Anna's here. Welcome, Anna. How you doing? Good to see you.
That's my wife.
Oh, I know Anna personally. Get to talk to her on the phone a bunch of times. Gotta have fun with it. Haven't seen your name in the chat in a while. Glad to have you around. Margaret Peggy, Lori Oliphant, Daryl Zernick, Autherial Aura. Man, the whole crew is showing up. Nick even got up at 4 a.m. from the United Kingdom to hang out with us today. Just as much as my red nose and ears is coming back because I took a shower a little bit late and I get that beautiful flush to the nose from the medication I'm on to deal with that. 2 years of post-COVID. Who doesn't want to have that? Sign me up. Where can you? Well, I already am signed up. Crap. Who else do we have out there? We've got, there he is, Bob Berkins. Well, he does it usually 3 in a row, but I clicked it in a row. Welcome, Bob. Thanks for coming in. Pam McSee, part of the Rob Heatherly fan club. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate that you're here. Who else do we've got out there? Eli McGinnis. Welcome, Eli. Thanks for coming in. Mr. Oceans Odell. Ocean Odell, not Oceans Odell. I can feel the furnace is kicking on, and I've got to go shut that off really quick because I am roasting. I wish I was roasting in a different way, I tell you. We'll find out eventually. To be continued in that vein. Who else do we have out there? Pontificator of Pontifications. Welcome, Pontificator. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate you being here. Red Panda Koala. What's up, y'all? Welcome. Thanks for coming in, Red Panda. Appreciate you coming out today. Saying hi to Pontificator and Linda. Hey, Anna, welcome. Great to see you participating in the chat as well. John Hamilton. Well, Hamilton is actually here. You know, they got a musical named about you, don't they? I think. Well, it's not you, but namesake. Ethereal Aura. I know what 40 milligrams of prednisone does every day. You don't have to excuse yourself. No, I'm not on 40. I'm only on 4. Thank God. But yeah, that reminds me when the alarm goes off at 8 p.m. Pacific, that means I have to take it. Omar Derby, the tent maker, is here. Welcome, Omar. I think that's about every... Grandmaster UV, or Grandmaster is in here as well. At least that's what Linda's saying. No, I'm on top chat. No wonder why. Son of a gun. Let's go to live chat. Oops. If I missed you, just saying hey to our ranch Airgun Fun channel. And let's see, YJ Overlander Canada. I'm calling you out because in case I missed you, I know I'll get in trouble for not calling you out. So, yeah, now that I've gotten through the audience, I think I've gotten everybody. There's Grandmaster UV. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's go ahead and bring in our panelists, shall we? If I can find the window that I can move up to the big screen and click on it and close. Autofocus. I don't need to see that. Here. I think we should have that. See that one? I see that one. I see that one. Son of a gun.
You lose this,
Thomas. My glasses for a second so I can see where I'm going to right here. It'll take a second to get it there. Studio with 2 guests. All right, there we go. Oh, that's the old screen. Oh, well, it's close enough. Let me change it really quick. Son of a gun. It's almost there. Welcome to the amateur hour.
Hey, but the audio's working.
Yeah, at least the audio's working, right?
It's usually the audio that goes down instead of the video.
Modified. Not a threat to. All right, there we go. I'm happy now. 2 guests. All right. Welcome, Rob. Welcome, Adrian. I think we've still got audio from don't we?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Well,
all right.
Apparently I turned off your audio here.
Uh-oh.
I got you now. We're good.
Okay.
Welcome, Adrian. Welcome, Rob. How's it going?
Thank you.
Good. Am I cut in half?
Not too bad.
Did I move the window? Yeah, I probably did. There you go. You're perfectly centered now. Thanks for checking that.
Cool.
I'm rushing too fast.
Hello.
Never quite perfect, but we try. We get better every time. Give me 1 second before I get blasted.
Welcome.
So, happy Tuesday, everybody. Actually,
I need scooting over.
It's Wednesday.
I'll try. You've got a fan.
It is Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah, it is
Wednesday. That means tomorrow I get to take my wonderful methotrexate and I get to go and freak out my mind for a while, and something I'm not looking forward to. But I had to remember that I see the trash cans out in front of the house today, and that's a definite 10-4 on that one. So, as we were talking about this earlier. There was an article that came out today over at the Liberation Times, but apparently it also came out in the publication where it was kind of shared out by The Sun, a somewhat reputable paper from the United Kingdom. And as part of that, if I click over to this right now, I think I should be able to get it to pop up. Yeah. Wait,
those are the days, man. Boot camp.
Close enough. Boot camp. Yeah, it's got Tim up there, but
Like
that's it. Let me just go
20
ahead
years
and turn
ago,
that
man.
off.
Oh,
There we
man.
go. Yeah. There you are over in boot camp, believe it or not. So it's kind of one of those things. It's an interesting situation to say the least that, bam,
Lackland.
there you were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lackland.
It's been a long time.
It has been a long time.
Yeah.
It's been like 20 years, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So jumping over to the article in the Sun, if I can find it here. Oh, I know what's in one of my windows. Welcome, everybody. Oh, where did it go? Where did it go? Exclusive. All right. Yeah. So what we're covering here is you're I guess a nuclear technician details security breaches involving UFOs and high strangeness in a nuclear base. So Adrian was stationed at Whiteman Air Force Base between 2003 and 2007, of course, in the U.S. Air Force, hence the shirt you're wearing right now. On separate occasions, you've witnessed something kind of, if you want to call it, sleuthing around the area, and which somehow managed to enter the base. I guess we were calling this kind of shadow people or something, but it's something that kind of goes ahead and aligns with what's been observed over in Las Vegas. Do you want to kind of tell us about it? Yes, I believe it's Whiteman, if I said it wrong, Air Force Base.
Right, Whiteman.
Yeah.
It's really a really difficult thing to explain that shadowy figure was. I don't know how else to explain it, man. Other than just a void of nothing there.
So it's like it displaced the darkness and it created a
Right.
void and pushed out the night.
So why don't you tell us about where you were at in the base, the kind of security you had going on in the base, and kind of walk us through the situation. So it was a secure base. I figured not anyone could go ahead and walk into the place, Adrian.
Oh, no.
Right. So Whiteman Air Force Base itself is kind of one of those secured asset kind of bases, right? And on top of that, I worked within the WSA, which is also the weapons storage area.
Gotcha. So weapons storage, like non-conventional, maybe nuclear assets.
Correct. And in the WSA, I worked in what they call an IMF, which an integrated missile facility, and that is one of the most secure buildings on the base. And pretty much.
Okay, secure in what way? Was there just kind of card scans coming in and out? Was there any kind of special security stuff to keep people out that people would know about?
I
can't really get into a whole lot of specifics on how to get into WSA.
Well, no, I don't want to hear how you got into it, but
the overall base, the overall perimeter of the base, and what extra precautions may there be? Basically, you have bases within bases with fences within fences.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of the general?
Because I know in the article they kind of talked about it as being like sealed to a degree.
A lot of people don't know how base is set up.
Whiteman Air Force Base, pretty much the only way you can get on a base is with a driver's license, or you've been signed on by somebody that works on base or is in the military, right?
Right.
And then on top of that, you also have the WSA, which you have to have a certain card in order to get in. And with the WSA, they have a 24/7 security detail, 24/7,
right.
Day in, day out, snow, rain, shine, flood, whatever, right? Nuclear assets, you have to protect them at all costs. And so on top of the WSA, you have the IMF. And the IMF, pretty much the only way in once it's locked down or all the doors are pinned is the main entrance. And that's an airlock style kind of entrance, which essentially is you're going to come through one set of doors. You have to come into like an antechamber, right? And you have to wait to be buzzed in to get into the second set of doors to actually gain access to the building. So
they actually have places like that at the marijuana dispensaries around where I live. Not that I would ever go to that, but yeah.
And a lot of it is just entry control, right? You don't want so many people or that kind of thing, right? And so if you don't come in through those front doors and the building's locked down, you're not getting in.
Right.
And it's kind of a central location in the base too. It's not like it's up against the back wall and back fence.
Right. Well, the WSA is, if you look at a picture of Whiteman, it's right next to the flight line. So I always had an unobstructed view of the flight line, pretty much.
Interesting.
Which is the runway, right?
You're in this part of the base. You're in a base which is already secure. And then you're in another part, which is almost like a mini base inside of the base. It even has ramped up security on a much, much higher level beyond any of the other parts of the base. And if there are other parts of the base that are high security, they're going to be in the same matter. So it's a highly segmented location where they can ensure security within different parts of it.
Compartmentalized.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. So you're in this place, you're on duty, doing whatever your duty was. We don't want to kind of get into the details if we don't want to break NDAs and such like that.
Right.
But then tell us about kind of what you kind of went through.
The evening of that specific evening.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point in time, it was probably around 2006, I think I said. And at this point, I'm working in weapons support. Essentially, I'm issuing toolboxes, chemicals, like gloves, and just things that support the nuclear operations. And during this specific time, we didn't have any kind of maintenance cycle or anything, so we have a training crew during this specific time. And when the training crew has a training bomb open, they typically lock the building down because it's still a top secret asset, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there in the back. I'm kind of on the computer doing my own thing. I'm looking at some stuff. And this is where you had said that I started hearing barefoot steps coming to kind of walking down. And at first I think it's like, that sounds kind of like water dripping because, we have like safety showers and the safety eye washes and that kind of thing. And it didn't sound like water. And after I looked up, there wasn't anything there that I could see. So I just go back to doing what I was doing. I got shit to do,
But what about the footsteps was different from what you usually heard?
Normally you don't hear barefoot in our facility.
Right.
You hear combat boots.
Right.
Like steel toe combat boots.
Yeah, loud.
So there's a weight to it, there's a clunk to it, there's a connection going between the boot and the ground.
Echoes in the halls and the walls.
Right. That, and people in the military, for whatever reason, they tend to drag their feet. Steel toes, you drag your feet for whatever reason.
Right.
And so this specific instance, when I had heard the barefoot, I was like, I just kind of out of sight, out of mind, I'm just chalking it up to something I heard, or I'm going crazy or something, So I just, like I said, chalk it up to something weird. And I go back to my computer, like I said, doing whatever I was doing. And it was only when I heard this footsteps walking again, but this time it was away from the weapons support section towards the admin section. And this time it was
section is that?
It was the admin section.
Admin section, gotcha. Thanks.
Right. And so as it's walking down there, I had that funny feeling, just kind of, man, I better check it because this is the second time I've heard it. So I get up, and then as soon as I look over the service counter, I just see this shape, just black shape.
Right. And this is a picture that you had drawn of it in the past.
Right, right. That was actually not too long ago.
Yeah.
And that's really the best that I can describe it.
Okay,
Is
so it was a shape,
is
but describe
fuzzy,
kind of, it's kind of fuzzy, it's kind of dark.
fuzzy,
How would you
dark.
describe it? As a shadow or an absence or
Kind of. If you left it up to me, I would say it's an absence, not so much a shadow, because shadows still have like something that they're being projected onto or whatever, right?
So if you're looking at the night sky
Yeah,
with the stars and
this
everything,
is
and
a
you cut
really
out a
difficult thing.
silhouette from it, and it was black, that would be that empty space, but there would be no defined edges. It kind of
Right,
was
it's
blurred, but
still
it's just
really
like a
blurry.
flat black void.
Mhm.
Is
No
what
so
light
it's
and
you,
like
it's almost a blurry, somewhat transparent, kind of a fuzzy thing, but it
yes,
doesn't give you that defined, crisp look of a shadow or something that's there. But it's
right,
something that's like where someone would be if they're potentially standing or whatever's going on, and
right.
you're seeing
And
it in your
as
vision.
Julie just said, it's like a negative space. It's like a negative space. The lack of something there.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of like the UAP displaced the atmosphere, that this was displacing the light around it, kind of reflect,
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so
absorbing the light, so to speak, maybe.
as soon as I get up and I start working towards this thing, it just takes off. It takes off down the length of hallway or wall, and then it turns a corner into the admin section. And then, I'm hauling after it, and I turn the corner, and it's nowhere to be found.
So you
Okay.
basically
So
get
you're in a
up,
well-lit
you
area.
run towards the thing.
Oh
You're
yeah.
trying to track. You're trying to get to this thing as quickly as you can. How far away do you think it was from you when you saw it?
Uh, if I had to, I'd probably say about a good, maybe even like a good 20, 30 feet, maybe,
Right.
if that, if that,
Yeah.
So it, like I said, man, it just, no, there was no smell. That I could tell anyway, there was no smell.
And plus,
Like
you
it
weren't
just,
even going for smelling. Where's it at? You're
no,
not
like
trying to track it down by smell.
I'm
You're
just
seeing something.
booking
You're
off after,
right.
yeah. And as I turned that corner, there wasn't anything. And then, I looked through all the offices, and in that specific area, there's only 2 or 3 offices. There's a snack bar, there's a conference room, and then there's like a break room, and that's it.
Yeah. So relatively small amount of space in the admin area where it could possibly be. But then
Mhm.
again, were you looking under tables, looking under desks, behind doors? Or were
Oh
you just
yeah,
yeah.
No,
because
that's
I'm
his
not.
job at that point.
If
You
yeah,
got to
it's
clear the area. You got to
exactly. I
sweep
have
it
to
and
find
make sure it's
whatever the
nowhere.
hell it is, or you know,
Yeah.
because if I can't come up with anything, what the hell am I going to say to anybody? Like, which is
Yeah.
another
When you
reason
engage
why.
when you engage somebody where they're in close quarters and in protected areas, it's your job to have to clear it and make sure that there's no one hiding there. So I can imagine the conundrum it left you in, to
Right.
see something that in a well lit area that didn't even you couldn't quantify and completely was unnatural to your senses. And at the same time, you're having to perform your duties and go through the motions as if it were something you could identify.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. And then
no doors slamming or anything like that on the.
and that front door it's really noisy in order to get in and out of that building.
Mm-hmm.
Once everything's locked up, on top of being pinned from the inside, a lot of those doors do have tamper-proof seals. So on top of the pin, there's a seal saying, "Hey, this door hasn't been opened." You know.
Even the key card swipes back then used to make loud noises, didn't they? When they were disengaged.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but either
Let
way, when
somebody
you swipe
through.
the key card and it does its thing, you're going to hear that
Mm-hmm.
locking mechanism and
Exactly.
and the
Yeah.
noises of the
Yeah.
stuff going and triggering, whether it's a humming noise from the transformer, whatever it is, allowing the person to be able to hear this stuff so they can go ahead and go through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
And
at
so
that
after
point,
that, I didn't have anything in hand to show anybody, and being in a nuclear facility, there's no cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
there's
crazy because you
sensors.
think if there was a nuclear facility and high security, that they would have cameras in there to do it, unless they're trying to hide something.
No, in the exterior you would, but you don't want anybody
Right.
hacking into the cameras on the interior.
Oh, there
Exactly.
you go. Yeah,
Even if it's
security.
a closed circuit. Yeah.
Yeah.
That, and who are you going to have to switch out tapes? Who are you going to pay to do that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, back then, I guess, what year was this in? This is 20 years ago. So this is 20. So it's about 2000.
6,
Yeah, you got to look at some old school high tech.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is just that thermal sensors or like motion sensors. And we had those throughout the building, but I can't say that they were ever tripped by anyone, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
How can you go to your CO and say, I saw something, I saw a person, but yet there was no doors opening and closed. There was no entry exit that you could discern.
Right.
They would just, send you to a med bay and, hey, check this guy out.
Right. Because that's the thing with top secret clearance and having PRP status as a nuclear weapons tech is, if you are mentally unfit, you're gone.
You're done.
And it's the same fear that they put into pilots and everybody else, that if you're going and talking about this thing, you go ahead and bring things up that you put your career and basically your life at risk for trying to bring something out that honestly, it sounds like they didn't want to hear about.
Right. Hold on. There.
What rank were you at the time?
At that time I was an E3.
Yeah, so you weren't new to the territory, so to speak. You know what you were doing, and you were highly trained, and you had some time under your belt with that performance of duty. So it's not like you're a rookie, left to hold somebody's coffee while they went out for a break. You were squared away and performing your function at that. So
yeah, if you hear that sound in the background, it kind of means that we got a super chat came in from one of our viewers, from Daryl Zernick again. Daryl's saying it seems the entity was bound by walls and gravity. Is it possible this was a human in a cloaking suit? Well, asking on behalf of Mick West.
he's Mick West is?
I do.
Okay,
Unfortunately, so we all do.
Fun of him.
Possibility of a human in a cloaking suit? Maybe, but unless they're really good at folding themselves up into tiny little places,
there was no entry or exit
right.
artifacts, nothing to indicate anybody was there, a physicality that entered the breach the premises or exited. So he had nothing tangible to go off of. No sounds of the equipment, the doors, the windows, nothing. No chairs sliding, no doors opening, nowhere to hide, nowhere to go.
And as far as I know, there was no difference in temperature either that I could, I didn't have a thermometer, but I couldn't tell that if things were getting colder or hotter.
And that's something that Terry Hall had asked earlier in the conversation stuff. I appreciate you coming back and following on that. But, Linda says we've had shadow people and a cat here, but you were almost talking, and I've seen shadow people. I've seen the things kind of looking around the corner and stuff, and then pulley back and everything. But this is different from a shadow person. Again, bringing that picture up you had up before, we're talking about something that's different from a shadow because it's more fuzzy, more than a lack of something being there than actually something being there. Was it kind of translucent at all, or was it kind of just really, you couldn't see anything?
Around the edges it was a little translucent, but towards like the center, like the core of the shapes, like the legs and the torso and the head, it was completely opaque.
Yeah,
you couldn't see through it.
A flat black 3D hologram would be that doesn't have defined edges, and it gets more dense in the middle, but there's no reflection coming off of it. It's like it absorbs light.
In your picture, it looks like there's something sticking out like a finger on one of the hands. Is that just
that's just bad drawing?
Gotcha. Hey, I have to say it doesn't matter how bad a picture is. Stick figures are fine as long as they can kind of convey and get across the idea of what it is. It's better than just words. Because what is the old saying? A picture is worth 1,000 words, and 1,000 words without any pictures is worth a shit ton of confusion.
Right.
And look at the aerial school phenomena that the kids drew of the beings that they encountered. That kind of reminds me of what you saw. Have you seen those pictures? that
I
the
have.
kids drew of the three black, I don't know what you call them, non-human entities, the one tall one and two short ones. So this was how tall that you would estimate?
This, it's really hard for me to tell
Floor to
sizes
ceiling?
or heights. I'm 5'4", so everybody is taller than me. So,
But
if
you
I
were
had to
also
guess,
20, 30 feet from it.
right?
And it
If
was kind of a translucent thing. So if you would give it a range on the shortest size to the highest size, what do
I
you
mean,
think?
it was anywhere from like 5'8" to 6 foot somewhere. You
Right.
know, it was still pretty taller. It was quite a bit taller than I was. Quite a
And
bit
the
taller than I
picture
was.
looks kind of thick. Was it more of like in the picture you've got going up? I'll bring it up again. Is it something that's more kind of a thick kind of a thing? You know, it's like almost you've got like someone wearing like those suits that they wear. They're going to get attacked by
Ghillie
dogs.
suit.
They're like have the pillows around
Yeah.
them, like or like an astronaut in a spacesuit. Or was it like based on that? That's what it's almost looking like. And I'll go off your drawing more than I would go off of, you know.
I probably should have drew that a little bit better.
Yeah, that's okay.
it, it wasn't quite as thick. I
Yeah.
mean, it still wasn't the typical shape of a person. You know, it wasn't real thin. It wasn't real thick. Just kind of an average kind of body. You know, just a real tall person, really.
Kind
Right.
of like a
All
sniper
average
suit would
per
be that's fuzzy
yeah.
around the edges, but it gets more dense in the middle, but you can't make out any clear definition of it. It just kind of
Hmm.
absorbs the atmosphere around it, and you really can't make out any discernible features with
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Yeah. And YJ Overlander says it seems like the suit seems like it's actually made of energy in the drawing. But what you're kind of talking about is it's not a regular suit. It actually feels like something that was an absence of something being there, where you would kind of, it's just, I'll put it this way. Have you ever seen anything like that before that?
No.
Have you ever seen anything like that since then?
No. I've never
So
seen
it's
anything like
it's
that.
hard to describe because you've only seen
It
it
was once.
once. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
there it is again.
Yeah, like I know it looks like I drew it kind of like a chunky boy, but it's not supposed to be. I could redraw it.
No,
No,
it's absolutely fine.
Sometimes the first impressions are the best because it's not, it's out of your instincts and your subconscious of what impression it left on you. So you kind of got a emotional rendering to it as well.
And it does look like energy in the drawing, but I was just really trying to convey how fuzzy and how blurry it looked like.
Yeah, undefined. Yeah,
Okay.
just-
Next question coming in from Linda Thompson on a $9.99 super chat. Thank you very much, Linda. Really value as well as a viewer and as a good friend, and appreciate the $9.99 super chat. Linda Thompson asks, any history of deaths at that location, if you would know about it? How tall was it? You're saying around 6 foot, give or take. And did it fade out or just disappear? How did you lose sight of it?
It turned the corner.
Turn the corner. And here's the thing. Was it actually just like casually walking, or did it feel like it was booking as well?
That's
Do you think it was aware of you chasing it is the first thing?
It was aware. It was aware that I was after it. So it very well could have been just booking it down the fucking hallway, you know?
Right.
Sorry, I hope you don't mind me swearing.
No, we're fine.
No, not at all.
You know, being in
Really?
the military kind of trains you to use your swear words. 1 second, let me see if I can find a paper or a page that I had drawn something. I might be able to, a little easier to describe this area that I was trying to. Well, shit. Oh, 1 sec, hold on.
No, no problem. Hey, we're used to on the fly productions.
Yeah.
Now I don't feel so bad.
No rush, man. No rush.
Oh yeah.
It just really reminds me of a night ghillie suit that you can't make out.
Alright.
You just see a darkness.
So I kind of have a rough diagram of what the building looks like, just to kind of reemphasize where I was at and where the thing was at, right? So essentially, up.
Let me,
working.
give me 1 second here. It's actually your camera is flipping your image, so let me go and flip you again here, so we can actually go ahead and transform. Where's that? Flip horizontal. All right, now we got it. So
okay, so I'm essentially working in this section right here. I'm basically like right here. Okay?
Right.
And as I hear the footsteps the first time, right? It's like right here is where I think I hear the footsteps, okay? And I go back to whatever I'm doing over here, and then I hear the footsteps again, this time receding away from the support section, okay? This is when I actually get up and I'm chasing down this thing, and this is the support or the admin section right here. This is where it turned the corner, and then I lost it. And as you can see, there's not really a whole lot of places for this thing to go.
Right. And if it would have gone out, you would have heard it and everything else. So either that, or it just went into a spot where it's not going to move. You're not going to see it move, and it just kind of.
There is no spot. If it were 3-dimensional, if it had a physical body, there's nowhere to hide it.
Right?
No.
It's well lit, illuminated. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
It just evaporated. It was gone.
Yeah. We've got another super chat that actually came in from a Daryl Zernick. Daryl asks again, "Hey Adrian, have you read Skinwalkers at the Pentagon?"
It's on my to-do list.
Gotcha.
I almost wonder if it wasn't distracting you down the hallway to get you out of your position that you're in.
It's a strong possibility too,
because you don't know if it was alone.
Yeah. Right. And you're guarding a doorway, and beyond that was definitely a no-fly zone that they couldn't breach without having to go through you. So yeah, that's interesting. It seems like they can move, appear, disappear, or move through walls, something. But it sounds like they were at some capacity bound to our physics to navigate in the building for some reason. Or why would it even show itself? They don't do anything, we found, just out of, they got bored.
Yeah.
And they don't let people see them unless there's a reason for it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Tom King asks, where did that go? Do you have a website? Do you have a YouTube channel or anything that you're on? Nothing yet? Gotcha.
Just on Twitter.
Just on Twitter. Nice. What's your handle on Twitter? Are you an open account?
Yeah, at Adrian since 84.
Adrian what?
Since 84.
Adrian since 80. Can you put that in the chat?
I sure will. 1 second.
Cool. I can go ahead and pin that thing.
Out of this.
Oh, son of a gun.
That's my Twitter handle.
And those are reinforced buildings. I mean, I can speak for that because I used to work off blueprint engineering components for them to for blast protection and things. So I know how hardened those facilities are and what they can withstand, and how much concrete and steel are to go into that. That's a lot of material to have to pass through for anything.
And even not to get into too big specifics, but it would take a lot to lift up bay doors. Once things are shut and locked, it's gonna take a lot to get through them.
Yeah, interesting. Well, you just got followed by Eric Altered. I know he's dealing with a bunch of other podcasts. He may be following you and maybe asking for some interviews. Cool. Get you around the circuit and everything like that. That'd be great to go ahead and do. But, from one of our viewers, his name is Nick. He's reached out to me on Twitter. He sent me some unbelievable pictures of, he had seen UAP out over his place. And then after seeing the UAP in a short amount of time, he was actually back in the house, and there was an orb moving around through his place and actually going through his computer. And it was actually kind of cool because when you could see it, that it was coming up out of the side of the computer, you could actually see it on the inside, but also the effect, like a 3D sphere passing up through it. I've never seen anything like that before, because a lot of times you see pictures of orbs and spheres and stuff like that, and it's more two-dimensional. but this one actually captured the three-dimensionality of it that I haven't seen in a while. I also want to welcome David H. Altman, someone who's involved in the phenomenon in many different ways from Hollywood. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you coming in. He's a former member of UAPX and experiencer, has captured some amazing things that he can talk about. Thanks for coming in, Dave. And we actually, I mentioned we got that super chat from Nick. I want to say again, thanks to Nick for a 10-pounder. That's like $12.50, $13. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate that coming in. And again, you're up at 4 a.m. It's now probably 4:45 a.m., I think, for getting up. Thanks for coming in, Nick. We appreciate you being here. So,
Definitely.
you've got the... You went and saw that particular shadow person. Now, you also saw some other things going on in the base. Now, did those happen before or after this incident?
Sandwiched it.
Sandwiched it. Interesting. So tell us about what happened before this, and then we'll jump after that then.
The first time I experienced anything, any UAP thing on base was I was holding gun guard, which is essentially during nuclear transports, somebody is holding security at where the weapon is going, and somebody is holding security at where the weapon is coming from.
For like maintenance kind of stuff and other things, potentially?
Right. Whenever we're transporting a weapon for whatever reason.
Right? Yeah.
So during this specific time, we're transporting a weapon, and it's coming into the IMF. And as it's driving down the way, I see this orb kind of just bobbing along the tree line, right? And then here comes a weapon, and as the weapon kind of, or the transport crew kind of pulls up, this thing kind of shoots up a little bit, and they're kind of backing the weapon in. And once we've secured it within the facility, this thing kind of zips off to the north and then zips up and it disappears. And
so how far away? Oh, so you're seeing this, you're out there, you're observing it, you're seeing it out there initially, you maybe think it's something else. And then it just goes one of those things and goes shooting up. What color was it?
I thought it was a star at first. It was an orangish yellow kind of
same color we get here. And funny enough, I've got Bangor Nuclear Base, the submarine base, which is only about 32 miles as the crow fly from where I live right now. And they have 1,100 missiles, of which each missile probably has multiple warheads each, stationed, at that location. It's a deep storage for them. It's a nuclear base, but it's also a sub base. So it's the same thing we get here, except the ones we have here are just going directly from east to west, coming like from the direction of where the base is. And they're just booking across the sky, just no noise, maybe 300-400 feet up at the absolute most. And, I've seen a couple of them within the last year.
Yeah. We've also got nuclear power plants off a couple hours to the west of that facility as well. So, that's a pretty hot area. And they used to have nuclear missile silos there as well, but I think they were deactivated by the time you were on that base.
Yeah, they had. I think they finished wrapping up the decommission in like the 70s or 80s.
Right.
I mean, they still have the silo there. They have one silo there that's still for like a museum.
ICBMs.
Yeah, they don't have any more of those.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Right. Yeah, as far as we know.
I mean, I think I should know because I was supposed to work on them, but
yeah, that would be a good indication. Right. You might have an idea if they were there or not.
So how long before the event did you see the one that was observing the moving of the ordnance?
Before the shadow person?
Before the shadow thing, yeah.
It must have been like 6 or 7 months in between. It was such a time that you can't really correlate the orbs with the shadow person because they don't feel connected.
They weren't
to
connected.
Me. Right.
Gotcha.
Did
They were
you have
just
any of your fellow servicemen ever say anything about witnessing UFOs or anything abnormal in the skies? Or was it something that have you heard other people talking, or they're talking to not talk about it because it was discouraged? And man, I wouldn't want to be that guy that says this, where they've actually expressed that it's taboo to talk about because of the negative communication that you get even from your peers.
so if somebody were talking about something, it would probably be under the guise of something like ghosts, right? Something that's a little bit more palatable than aliens, because there's still quite a few more people that are out there and they believe in ghosts, but they don't believe in aliens, right?
Yeah.
It's more believable to them. And I would hear things of people saying like, "Oh, I felt something weird this way," or "I thought I saw something," but what do they know? Or they can't really back it up with any evidence. So why even say anything?
Yeah.
Just hey, by the way, I thought I saw something. I thought it was a
This
ghost.
kind of air environment don't discuss.
Are you, have other, had anyone else at the base talked about things you talk about, things you don't talk about, things that they may have seen? Nothing.
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody.
So there was no official briefing that these are things that we kind of discourage to bring up. But like you said, if you talk about things like that, then you risk your security clearance, because obviously
Section
you
8.
witness where other people would speak something that would be parallel to that, and they didn't fare well for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hate to do this again, but we have another super chat that came in again, this one coming in from Tom King. And Tom is saying, what is he saying again? Okay, donate to put cameras on Thomas's house to keep the aliens away. Don't keep them away, please. They're welcome here. Because I'm trying to call them in, trust me, and record them. Let's go, aliens.
Careful what you wish for.
Oh, hey, I've dealt with them. I've had a quantum connection with them last year, end of the year, and there's nothing we can do to stop them. They come and go as they please. And yeah, they've made a quantum connection with me. So yeah, I'd rather have an in-person event than just monitoring what the heck I've got going on. Adrian, were these coming in from Daryl Zernick in other chat, were these experiences life-changing?
No, because otherwise I would have said something sooner, right? Yes, that's a really difficult question. It's a yes and a no, because yes, because now that I've looked back and I've been able to kind of make the connection, right? But at the time it was no, because I just threw it out. I just put it in the vault and went on going,
Yeah.
At
I
the
gotcha.
time, the environment was so little people, especially in the service, talked about witnessing any kind of phenomena like that on or off duty, that it just wasn't in the vocabulary and the conversation to even contemplate what you saw. So it was so alien out of, for your worldview, it just didn't occur to you at the time. I think as the years went by and became more mainstream, it caused you to start questioning what you had saw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Go ahead. Sorry.
The cat's name is MJ.
MJ, nice. If I can go ahead and reset the room here, as it likes to be called in some other shows, we're here talking with Adrian. How do you see your last name, Adrian?
Reister.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you. Adrian Reister's a counter at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. Mm-hmm. Not that, about 300 miles away from Rob, maybe about same distance from you, maybe a little bit farther, but, it's something that's close to both of you guys where you still live. And it's something that happened back 20 years ago, and that would put us back at about 2002, 2003.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting
Roughly.
time frame. Yeah, and in addition, if you guys are enjoying this broadcast and this interview, the first one that Adrian's had, I'm sure he'll be going on to many from here. Go go ahead and please smash that like button. It's right down below me right now. We appreciate it. The more likes we get, the more the YouTube algorithm gets tuned, and the more they go ahead and share out our broadcasts and bring more people in. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you're watching or not in the chat, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and come on into the family. We have a lot of great broadcasts here. We have Disclosure tonight, if you like UAP and everything else involved with the phenomena. And then we have Late Night Update, which is kind of a daily take when we do it on the weekend update from Saturday Night Live. But we're a little bit more center, maybe a little bit to the right, sometimes to the left, but usually not too much. But we like to look at the news and call it how it really is and expose how the media on either sides of it totally polarizes what we're dealing with. So back to the conversation with Adrian and what we've got going. Adrian, again, thanks for coming in here today to go ahead and talk about this. So far, we've talked about your encounter with a shadow person or shadow something. We're not going to call it a person. A shadow entity is kind of something that sounds a little bit more, if you want to call it, accurate for what you're dealing with. It was an absence of something being there, about 6 feet tall, which almost aligns with the same height of what the people had seen at what do you call it, Area 2, I believe it's Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas, around a similar time frame. So it's almost like they were on a tour doing some observations or something to that extent. And you had another event where you actually saw an orb when they were moving an ordnance from one location to the next for whatever they were going to go ahead and do with it. From there, what was the experience that happened after you actually saw this lack? I'm not kind of call it shadow person. This lack of anything entity.
Yeah.
A void person.
Yeah.
Honestly, the orbs that I saw were not really fantastical. The orb that I saw after the void person or shadow person, it was basically just kind of an orb, kind of bobbing there, and then just blinked and gone. That was about
And
it.
obviously, you see a tremendous amount of aircraft in your Thursdays, especially. So this
And a
was
lot of
not
people are
something that
saying,
you would.
"Oh well,
This
maybe
was
it
not
was
normal to your
drones."
environment. Yeah.
We didn't have drones like that in 2006.
No.
UAVs,
And neither did China, for that matter.
No, neither did China.
Nobody did.
We had UAVs like the Predator missiles or Predator strike missiles and stuff like that, and they operate this very similar to the way aircraft operate. They don't.
Yeah,
Zip
they
around.
aerodynamics based by aerodynamic lift.
Now, for all I know, it could have been a satellite that disappeared. That last UAP.
What was the color similar to the first one that you saw?
It was similar to the first one that I saw, and that's the only reason that I say that it probably might have been a UAP, but I don't know, man. Nobody knows these kind of things.
Yeah. You're just
Something
trying to
that kinda
call it
comes to
out for
mind.
something that you saw. It's like you said earlier, you haven't seen stuff like this before that. You haven't seen things like that since. So if it was something that was more prevalent, something that's more that you would see on a regular basis, it's something you would probably would have seen at least one more time in that period, since the events that
You would
happened,
think.
if it was something regular.
And really,
I
the only
have to
thing I've
think.
ever seen since then is satellites and the International Space Station and stars and other stuff like that. I haven't seen any other UAPs like.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least a decade out on those too, as well, though, right? I have to wonder. You were describing that it ran from you and allowed you to even see it. We found that they don't have to, regardless, they do not have to allow themselves to be seen. There's a reason for that if they do, and I have to wonder. Like what they're testing our strike groups, when they're out on maneuvers and things, they want to see how we're going to react when they enter our environment. If they were seeing how you would react, or what if you would call it in, if you would hit an alarm, how you would react to it. Who's to say that they didn't come back on somebody else's watch and probe
Exactly.
to see what kind of reaction they would have to get to understand how they would be able to access under what conditions and how they would react if they were seeing, if they had to take something physical out, then, they'd have to know in advance scouting to ascertain what their parameters would be to accomplish whatever their goal was. Because they didn't, there wasn't an apparition that would just wander in bored. They had a purpose, and we'll never know what that is. But
with the location that you're at, what you're kind of getting to, Rob, at least what I'm hearing, is there are no coincidences, and especially in something like this that you're dealing with, there's a definite intent. The location where it is, it's got reasons that we know that have been admitted by many levels of the government, people who used to be in the government, people who used to be dealing with nuclear weapons or different nuclear sites, that they're attracted to it. And that's where ethereal aura comes in, just to verify. Okay, Google, stop. So the events are not tied to the person, but to the base.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say what would you say to that, Adrian?
I would say it's tied to activity, the activity at the base.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, yes, to the base, but
Yeah.
more so like the activity at the base.
Yeah. No, I believe Linda Thompson had said, what was his name again? Linda, what was the name of the guy again? Who you, was it Terry something? I'm bad with names, not
Lovelace.
Terry Hall.
Lovelace.
Yeah,
Lovelace.
Terry Lovelace. Who's the guy who's did the encounter he had at Devil's Den when he had seen something, but he was also stationed at the same base that you're at, and apparently Linda was saying that a lot of paranormal activity, where to go, happens at Whiteman with UFOs.
I don't particularly know Terry Lovelace. I don't think I've ever met him.
Yeah.
It's just coincidence, I suppose,
Yeah.
And you coming forward with this, I'm sorry, go ahead.
If we know anything about this, there's not many coincidences.
No.
It's all kind of on purpose,
I hope this encourages some other people that may have been there or on other bases, like what Alex Dietrich did, who finally got up the courage to come forth when she saw other service people doing the same, that she wanted to share what she encountered. So there may be somebody else that had a similar experience as you have on the base or somewhere other base, but didn't ever want to put that information out there because they didn't know how they would be judged on it. So that, you coming forward with this, it might bring some other people out that otherwise would have stayed silent. So kind of curious as how other servicemen are going to react to this, on boots on the ground, because we get a lot of pilots, but not actual people inside of facilities, especially.
Yeah. Right. And I would, this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this, is to kind of give other people within my previous career field, or other people in the Air Force as well, kind of an avenue to actually say what happened or what they saw. Because honestly, man, it's about time. It's about time we know the truth.
It's been locked down for a long period of time, and it's something that a lot of people, including Lou Elizondo, who calls himself an advocate for disclosure, the more people who have actually seen stuff and come out, the more that it's going to sound like more of a normal occurrence and things that have been going out. That, although the Department of Defense and Susan Go and even Lou Elizondo keep on trying to push this as a national security threat, it's interesting in going through the overall article when we're looking at it, it's the Secretary of Defense, Frank Kendall, in an interview in the middle of last year, basically came out and said that he doesn't consider UFOs to be an imminent threat to the United States or the human race. These phenomena are occurring, but obviously They obviously tweak a lot of people's curiosity and encourage speculation. So if we're asked to take that on, we will. What's interesting is if Susan Go had her way from the Department of Defense, hello, Susan, it looks like someone spoke. I'm sure you got all redhead fiery at him and bitched him out like I'm sure you're known for in your office, and told him how dare you say this? But the truth of the matter is, Susan, more people like Frank Kendall, more people like Adrian need to come forward and start talking about this to make us understand it, and to take your threat narrative and shove it up your ass, bitch. Sorry, this is just me trying to say we need to stop looking at this. The Air Force has 75 plus years of dealing with this. If they're going to say that,
actively suppressing the
yes,
conversation so people wouldn't come out with it.
yeah. Yeah, if they were to say, he said, I've given a great deal of thought on defending American airspace, but not against UFOs. Now, this is the head of the U.S. Air Force. If asked to do that, we will do it. This is a thing that's been around for a great many years. How does that make you feel, Rob?
I wish he would just...
Or Adrian? Adrian, yeah, go for it.
Go ahead, man.
No, Adrian, you take it.
Yeah.
Really?
What kind of message do you think they're trying to convey with all this, with the nuclear assets? Where do you think they're headed with this? Do you think there's a message?
I don't know if there's a message. Maybe stop playing with matches.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Don't burn the fucking house down.
I mean, we successfully used 2 nuclear weapons at the end of World War II, and we have yet to use any since then. And that could be a strong possibility why.
Yeah.
Right. That, and it's just a threat deterrent. Now, as far as like them not being a threat, UAPs, they can be. I don't particularly think they're a threat, but they have the very strong possibility to be one very quickly like that.
Yeah.
So they've got the power to be a threat, and they could be a threat like that if they wanted to, but they're in a situation where there's no need at this point.
Right.
Something I want to bring out really quick is we have the Chad Smith podcast. I thought it was called Paranormal Chop Shop, but check out if you can give Chad's channel a try. I'll take it, and it's in the chat right now. I've got Adrian's Twitter account right now off, and I pinned it at the top of the chat. So if you got of interest, whatever it is, give it a click, do a subscribe. Chad's a great guy. Everyone says it's the Chad Smith is here. And yes, we have the Chad Smith has entered the building. And anyone who wants to get his autograph, the line starts on the left side of the studio after the show is over. Remember, it's on the left side of the studio. Sorry, I watch Space Star Radio. You got to have fun with it. So you've got this. And now we've got, the head of the Air Force speaking out, saying we don't think it's a threat, and if we're asked to, we'll go after it.
I think they
but
should.
They don't see there's a need for it, and I get it.
I would disagree. There's kind of a need for it. I mean, there's things flying around that we don't know what the hell they are. But who else is going to figure that out? Space Force?
But do you think that they really don't know what it is? There's a darn good chance the Air Force may. There's a lot of questions that were called out from the, that may have happened with Eisenhower back around 52. Heck, even in 52, we actually had, who was it? We had a fleet of saucers come to Washington, D.C., and what do? We actually went and tried to shoot them down and knocked a chunk off of one of the saucers, and they all left. Well, supposedly we had those sightings.
Which is a no-fly zone.
Come on, they're ETs.
I know, but they knew how like I said, they probed to see how, like an advanced scout team to see how we would respond, and they continue to see how we will respond with new equipment and new tactics and techniques and things that they field, with the Navy and their planes and their ships, how they conduct their war games, for all nations that they're being observed, not just the nuclear weapons and capabilities, conventional weapons systems that are being monitored and in increasing frequency and numbers. So they're, if I were applying this to known, conventional human adversaries, we would say they're advanced scouting, and they may not want to go to war with us, but they at least need to know what we're capable of and how we're going to react. But given that they're having such a keen interest in these, I just can't help but think that they're telegraphing that we are stepping across the line that we really need to pull back on.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you wonder what happens if we.
Oh, your audio fell off a bus.
How's that?
What's that? Try again.
How's that?
Did it change audio sources? Maybe.
No,
Maybe Chrome.
Oh shit.
It's okay.
Don't worry about it. We'll get it taken care of. In the meantime, Chad Smith, when are you on next so I can stop by your show? Chad Smith podcast said, appreciate the shout out, Thomas, Rob, and Adrian. Well, thanks for coming out, Chad Smith. And I think you already gave us one super chat. Didn't have to do a second one, but you greatly appreciate it. And, any friend of Dave is a cahooting friend of mine.
Still can't hear me?
We're good. We're good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I just got to talk a little louder.
What was the tipping point for you that caused you to decide to speak up finally?
John Ramirez. When John Ramirez had finally come out and he had given that PowerPoint presentation, it's kind of like, man, this is... He's releasing a lot of information, Well,
the good thing about him releasing it, though, it wasn't his general purview or his area of interest. So it's things he's aware of, and he's putting out a lot of information that's, Chad wants to hear the chips theme again. That's something that's
to speak freely on it.
That's not necessarily an area where he was within his NDA of what he couldn't talk about. So anything else he had other people had gone through and put together in his own opinions, he can actually go ahead and freely talk about that.
It wasn't just John Ramirez, but he was like the tipping point. When Elizondo first came out, and I was like, okay, whatever. And it wasn't even whatever. It was just kind of, I'll just keep my eye on this, kind of deal. And there was Christopher Mellon, and then there was, all these other high up people that were coming out, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just a nuke troop, I was just an airman at the time. So if the government wanted to, it could just steamroll me but hopefully it won't.
Well, being out in the public now with this, you're in a community that actually it gives you some protection to be able to speak out now, because now that you're on radar, if they did try to put the squeeze on you, then it would be very apparent, and they're trying to do damage control and PR through the DOD with Susan Go and all that. That would be a mistake for them to try and do, because there's so many of us vocal in this community that we take care of our own, and definitely, when somebody's attacked, we all try and jump in to help.
Yeah. We got news coming back from the monitors in the chat room saying that let's take a look and see what the video analytics say. Oh, wrong window, of course. They're saying that it's only showing 35 chats, actually 35 likes. Let's see what it is. We have 33 likes and 47 viewers. So if you like the video, please do me a favor, including you, Adrian. Go ahead and Rob, click that thumbs up. We appreciate every single one of those thumbs up. It helps us go ahead and get the algorithm there. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. We appreciate it. 42 already. It helps. Thank you, everybody.
So he let you think that there may not be repercussions for you to come out now and speak, and that you wouldn't have Men in Black knocking on your door from the Air Force saying, "Hey, you need to lock it up," because they were saying a lot more information that you would ever come out with. So you felt like the environment was finally safe enough, but the topic was important enough that you needed to say something. Where do you see the narrative needing to be invested in with people like you? What would you say to somebody else? What's the importance to their testimony? What is the end result that you're wanting to see from that?
Ultimately, what I would like is just the truth. Honestly, just the truth. Because it could be aliens, it could be extra dimensional creatures, it could be China. We don't
Not
know.
China. We know it's not China. We know it's
We
not
know.
Russia.
I know,
It's not
but
probable, but it's possible, but it ain't probable.
Yeah.
until we have an exact answer, we don't know anything, right? And that's one of the reasons why I want the truth, is that way we at least know where to focus our attentions. We have some way to narrow it down.
I hear you.
Yeah.
It's like almost
Outside
kind
of
of
that-
things when you want to talk about it. You want to rewind everything, bring us back, be able to have the information, have it out there, talk about it, get it out there. And, Tim Senor asked me before if I were to have a documentary on UFOs and something, what would I call it? And I said simple, one word: truth. Because that's all we need is the truth. We don't need speculation. We don't need stories. We need evidence, and we need the truth of what's there, because as the late Harry Reid said, God rest his soul, that there is more than enough evidence. There's an ocean full of evidence, yet we've only been released a few drips of information coming out of it.
And we were talking before the show a little bit. You saw that there's probably a connection with this phenomena that spans back long into humanity's history collectively, that this isn't something new that just showed up in 1947 and then all of a sudden, boom, here it is. And they haven't figured out how to contact with us and communicate effectively yet. And a lot of people think that's the only thing holding them back, is they just don't know how to speak yet to us. They've been watching, Close Encounters. That's not the case. And that's what I was hearing you say before the show was, this is nothing new, but something's changing.
And if they do talk to us, they're not going to be interested in the kind of board games we're playing or how they were played, or was it fun? There's much higher level things that if they are going to be communicating with us, they're not going to be doing it with words. And it's a lot more advanced than talking about Scrabble and Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and as Rob was saying, this does go back a considerable amount of time. If you go back and look at histories and mythologies and all the different things that we have written down of historical events and historical religions, I mean, the sea people, that's one of the first documentations of other things coming out and teaching humans what's what, right?
Yeah.
Civilization.
We had the ant people, though. That was the Hopis.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. So it could have been fish people. It could have been ant people. It could have been lizard people. It could have been, a wide variety of things. There's not just one thing that could have happened. It could have been multiple species. It could have been multiple things, Who knows?
Exactly. And it seems like for the last 5,000 years after the flood, like they talk about in the Old Testament and the Sumerian texts and the Vedics and all that, that before it seemed that, the gods dwelled among humanity and they had the technology to build megaliths back then. And it all came to a dead stop at the last flood at about 3,200 years, 3,200 BC. And since then, it's all been reset, and we've had to reboot humanity, starting with Mesopotamia and Sumer, where they thought humanity, civilization started before they found Göbekli Tepe. It rolled it back another 6,000 years. But yeah, we've been interacting with this at some capacity, at least, ever since humanity has, all the records that we have of humanity, they've been involved with us at some capacity everywhere.
Right. And for all we know, back in ancient times, all these different things could have come to like maybe a truce, peace treaty kind of deal,
Or
right?
maybe in those times there was no need for war, and it was just something that comes out of their actual existence beyond that. But you have to remember, it's the whole yin and yang. Where there's good, there's going to be evil. Where there's light, there's going to be dark. So there's always that kind of stuff that goes into it. And it's just trying to understand angels and demons, for that example. So it's
Cosmic
about
balance.
looking, at that. But as you were going back on the ancient history, you also brought up earlier about, was it Tiwanaku or Pumapunku down in Peru? Yeah, where you have the different blocks and everything, and you look at the stuff, and it's even a lot more. Well, it's a different type of advanced technology than what they had going with the megalithic blocks. These are just like really intricately shaped, however they did it.
Yeah,
and
they're
it's
advanced polygonal megalithic blocks. Megalithic is a generic term, but they start out with the cyclopean that were very, I wouldn't say crude, but they were the
rough
least
ones.
complex megalithic block, and then they went to the polygonal.
Cyclopean polygonal.
Yeah, and then a lot of the complex polygonals, and then Herodian ashlars, but they all showed that they built up one upon another, like in layers. Sometimes you can even see the different successive megalithic layers, one built on top of another, of generational, where they evolved their technology and their ability to construct, or at least what they were sharing with humanity. So it's global with the hallmarks that we found, like with the protrusions that we call nubs. It was a global phenomena way in antiquity that had the same architects and builders using the same techniques globally, and in the deepest antiquity that we know of. Even Göbekli Tepe, they found at Pillar 43 in Enclosure D, it has archaeoacoustic properties that it resonates at a specific frequency. They found out that it's hollow inside, and it was tuned to a specific frequency range. I found a scholarly article paper written on that some scientists had discovered.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's an amazing piece, a lot of history. But what's even different, though, in the Pumapunku is these are different from the cyclopean blocks, where they just kind of more natural and organic shaped in the way they all fit together. And someone actually had a cool picture on Twitter, and it basically equated, if you look at the original corn that's in Mexico.
I saw that.
Yeah, you saw that one too, where all the different kernels of corn almost look like the cyclopean, the polygonal walls that were put together. But again, Pumapunku, you've got these blocks that were put together that have like razor edge sharp kind of edges, and it's some really hard stone. It's nothing that humanity could even come close to creating today in its light as well.
Exactly, and that's crazy,
Yeah. So, and it's kind of, if you want to call it, it's that full circle, where if we're looking at the things that are going on today, understand our future, it's going full circle to also look to the back to understand our past. That gives us the idea of the future.
What brought me into this was seeing from physics. I was researching quantum physics and anti-gravity when I saw the Trilthon stones in Baalbek, that they were averaging 1,500 tons each, that I realized that they had to have employed anti-gravity type technology to be able to cut, move, and transport them. They didn't, there was no other way. As an engineer, I know that. And when I saw, so that's what brought me into studying megalithic construction several years ago. And then when I've noticed with the 5 observables and the physics being employed with UAP, it just kind of clicked that this is the same type of physics, at least a part of, that was employed in antiquity with the megalithic. So they had to be related somewhere with their, at least in their physics and their knowledge, of a part of physics that we don't know how to replicate anymore.
Exactly. And that's one of the big things, is that we'd lost all of that technology for whatever reason, right? And we've never been able to recover it.
It all went away at 3200 BC. From everything I've researched, megalithic construction stopped at that point, and so did the knowledge and the books that if they had any, because there wasn't any written language until after that. and even the legends of gods among men dwelling in those temples and things, where they actually resided there and they appeared to humanity as gods because they were so much more advanced than we were. We don't really know what their nature was, but that even stopped with the last flood, and it's never been the same since. So it seems like what Thomas was saying, there's been a balance struck since then of, okay, we're going to do things differently this time around, and this is how it's going to go now. And it seems that we've been left, and they're working from the shadows covertly, like Jacques Vallée brings up, and not just trying to be tipping the scales for one nation with another and interfering. They're letting us, choose our destiny as a civilization, where we're allowed to determine it for ourselves. Because in antiquity, when they tried to intervene, we found in the historical records, it didn't go well.
Right. Yep.
Something that happens over time, something that goes on the record and stuff gets there and everything. Oh, yeah. Ancient history has got a lot of stuff. There's ties back to, oh gosh, the megalithic stuff. Isn't that seen all around the world, Rob?
Yeah, on every continent. Strangely, I'm trying to, not just myself, but megalithic construction, it stopped at about Mexico City. There's nothing north of that in the Americas of megalithic construction. And in India, they have by far the most that are still intact, which is an anomaly in itself there as well. So we have two anomalies of why didn't they build megalithic structures in North America past Mexico, and why are the ones in India still standing? Why didn't they get wiped out as well, in the flood? So, and then after the Younger Dryas, conditions would have been favorable in the Americas for them to build it here, but there's no evidence of it.
Yeah.
Another question coming in from you from Daryl Zernick again. Adrian, do you continue to see any supernatural things?
I continue to look for them. But so far, no dice, man.
Yeah, it's just kind of something you were there, something you witnessed and everything. It's something that was kind of in your past, and it's interesting that it's kind of, if you want to call it, verifies how this stuff where it's attached to, that it's not attached to you, it's attached to the site where you're at, where there's a high level of interest of the activities and the contents of what's going on there.
Yep.
When you decided to speak out, how hard was it for you to initiate contact with somebody and to take your story seriously and credible to where we found you in an online article today, giving your accounting? How did that process come about?
I had, not to shout out any other podcasts, I spent a lot of time on what is it, that UAP podcast. So from there, I had made a tweet or something saying, oh, well, I'm a nuclear weapons tech, and I saw some stuff. And that's when Christopher Sharp had DM'd me, and that's where I started about 2 months ago.
Right.
Roughly 2-3 months ago. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, I actually saw Christopher Sharp. I saw him on retweeting one of my broadcasts that we had coming up tonight. Actually, it was yesterday. So, yeah, he makes his rounds. Absolutely.
He knows his stuff, man. Christopher Sharp.
Very sharp guy.
Yeah, he is a very sharp guy.
Yeah. But, it's something that interests a lot of people. And it's something that I've been through since I've been a kid. It's something you've experienced here. I've experienced it younger and more recently, a couple times in the last year. And it's as the more we talk about it, and I guess your real message is, hey, listen to the kind of stuff that I've been through. But again, we'll get back to this. It's more about encouraging others, and whether or not they were part of the Air Force, the Marines, the Army, the Navy, any of that, Department of Energy, anyone dealing with nuclear materials or anything, even medical stuff. And there may have been sightings that goes around it. It's, they've acknowledged that it's real. Congress has put a leash, they're trying to at least, onto the Department of Defense to bring it out.
You what?
I would love to hear from somebody from the DOE.
Yeah.
Department of Energy. Man, those guys know a lot of stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
They have their own clearances that you have to get.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Dave from Spaced Out Radio. Dave Scott. He's got another broadcast coming up. I'll have to send your information across to Dave because I'm sure Dave would love to have you on his broadcast. It's a 2-hour show at least. It's a radio show in the evening. You could probably handle that, I think. But Dave's a great guy, and he just sent across another encourage me into cahoots. So I'm not sure what Dave has got going on his channel tonight, but Dave Spaced Out Radio picks up at 9 p.m. a little bit right after our show just goes to an end. Maybe after our show ends. That's a fact tonight. Be sure to go ahead and check it out, and I will be over there later on tonight. So I hope to see everybody who's over here over on Spaced Out Radio later tonight. Appreciate the cahoots, and we'll keep on passing that $5 back and forth.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's
You're
see.
wanting to encourage people, other servicemen, and to come forward with their stories. So, like you said, you want to find out the truth. We all want to find out the truth, and that's partly what we're doing here is helping give people a platform to pool our resources and our knowledge, and to give people a voice to come out and share their stories, and like you said, hopefully encourage others to step up as well, whereas they wouldn't possibly have otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is just trying to give people the opportunity to come out and say the crazy shit that they saw too, because honestly, this whole topic is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's not as crazy as we think it is, because in the day when people used to talk about it, they would say, get out your tinfoil hats, everybody. We got a kook, a crazy, a guy has no idea what's going on talking about it. But now is the time to go ahead and take these tinfoil hats and pass them on to people like Mick West and people who want to be deniers, because the truth of the matter is, it's like the reality of, sorry, the earth is not flat. Behind me, the earth is round, just like there are UAPs. It's not that there aren't that they don't exist. So you can try and find every particular reason to say it doesn't. But sometimes if your foot isn't in your mouth already, you're not realizing it. Mm-hmm. Not you, but the people who are, pulling this thing down.
Right. Skeptics, debunkers.
Yeah.
And I welcome skeptics, man. I have all of my clearance papers. I have everything. So have at it. Yeah. Like the only thing you can refute is what I saw, and I can do the same thing with other people.
Right.
It comes down to what I said versus she said, and you can believe me or not believe me.
Well, you don't get into the job that you had, the clearance that you had, by not being intelligent and not being reliable and credible. Your reputation speaks for itself, the nature of it, or else you wouldn't have even been in that place to begin with. So why would somebody call your integrity into question? Like you said, you can prove where you were and when you were. And I have a feeling that this is going to open up some doors for you in short order, to where people are going to want to hear your story and get it out there. And this is going to geometrically expand in short order.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what do you think, so out of the stuff that you've heard about the phenomenon in the past year or so, is there anything that kind of stands out saying this is an amazing piece of evidence or an amazing thing that's kind of happened? Any event or any person who's kind of in that area?
I mean, a lot of what, going back to John Ramirez, a lot of what he said was just mind-blowing, right? Like if he can prove this connection of hybridization, that will go a long way to proving different other theories,
Yeah. I can tell you right now, if you're just looking at the cameras, we've got 3 hybrids on the camera right now. you know, if you would call it the missing link, ET is probably the missing link. And if they do have biological material from the stuff that happened at Roswell, they could have the genetic DNA material they could look at today and say, wow, here's where the ET is. Here's where the humans are. And look, there's this overlapping segment of the DNA between them. Gee, I wonder.
Anything's possible. But at this point, we can only start to cross things off. There's very little we can't add on what we don't know what's there. So it's only a process of elimination and determining probabilities at this point and coming up with reasonable hypothesis and then working from there. But we need people like you that had, you know, more people that have had firsthand accounts of these to step forward and help us build this mosaic into a discernible puzzle picture that we can identify. And that's only going to be, we need more data and more credible, you know, not just the nuts and bolts data, but also like what Jacques Vallée pointed out, you know, witness testimony that's credible, that helps, you know, from all different perspectives to identify the elephant for the blind people.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, go ahead.
Skepticism does have its place. You know, it does. Because without skepticism, you believe in whatever, right? It's only through skepticism that you're able to kind of whittle down, like, okay, that wasn't a weather balloon. Okay, that wasn't an airplane. Or, okay, that wasn't this. That wasn't a bird. That wasn't this. What else can it be? I don't know. It's a UAP. You know?
There is no line to draw on skepticism. I mean, I've debated people for years on physics, and especially getting into the arena of ancient alternative history. We debate people all the time, and it helps us to understand, like you said, why we know what we do and to recheck our facts and our data and where did we get it, and make sure that we know that we have the correct, where we can find out facts, that we are correct in what we're asserting, and what we can't and think we knew, then, and like you said, it helps us sort that out and throw out what that we couldn't quantify and didn't have any actual validity. So healthy skepticism and debate, if they are, you know, if it's respectful, I can go with that. But if they get, you know, if they won't listen to facts and be teachable, I break off the debate there. I don't pursue it, because it just becomes dogma, and there's no point wasting my time from there.
Right. Yeah. They're not going to change their opinion no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about changing of opinions, I don't think we need to go ahead and change Avi Loeb's opinion. But Adrian, if you could give any advice to Avi Loeb, what would it be?
Man, get as many photos as you can. Get as much imagery, as much data, as much documentation as you can. That way people just shut up.
So get as much information as you can. I guess my little piece on top of that is freaking share the data as quickly as you can. Don't wait for a year for it to come out. Don't wait 2 years for it to come out. Get the data out there as quickly as you can, because the sooner we can start getting stuff into people's eyes, into their faces, into stuff that's on the internet to help them learn about what's going on, some real evidence, it's going to go ahead. It's going to open eyes. It's going to open people's minds a bit more too, because right now it's a lot of talk and a lot of speculation that's out there. But supposedly, if it happens, little, you know, in the second week, potentially in February, there may be some good information coming out. Not sure from where or who, but we definitely know it's going to be an eye-opener on some factual, scientific data potentially. Looking forward to it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even Julie Farrell is out there saying, yeah, immediate release. And that's one thing with doctors, and actually not doctors, a lot of these scientists, they want to take it, they want to put it under peer review, they want to show it to a bunch of different people, they want to get it into the physicists' hands and help try and figure everything out. But this is the time where if you get the data out there, you open it up to the world. The world is going to have the opportunity to take that data, not just see it from a few brilliant scientists' perspective, but a lot of the systems and things that happen on this planet that are amazing discoveries don't come from the people with the big degrees. they're coming from the people who are passionate for this, who spend a lot of time looking at it. And, you know, sometimes when you have that perspective, there's a way to go ahead and see something, if you want to call it the big picture, that a lot of people just, because they're so far deep in the weeds, they can't see.
Yep. And to answer Patrick D's question, shadow demons from Patrick Swayze's movie Ghost.
The figure you saw, did it look like the shadow demons in Patrick Swayze's movie Ghost? It's a good question.
Kind of, but the things in that movie were very translucent. You could still see through them, and what I saw, you couldn't see through this thing, man.
Around fuzzy around the edges, but beyond that, it was an absence of anything. Was it reflective at all? Was it anything where you're seeing anything bouncing off it, or anything was just?
Do you know that black
paint
dye that they just came out
They've
with?
got that really dark paint that they have, and it absorbs all light. It has no reflectivity and everything on it. Yeah.
A black body.
It was like that.
That's a really good analogy. That's really
what they call
is.
Black body in physics, where it can't reflect any light. It's just completely black, flat black. It doesn't reflect and it doesn't emit nothing. Yeah. But it was blurred around the edges. So that
oh my
that's
God,
interesting itself.
You know what? They've been trying to find it for the longest time, and they haven't been able to. You observed dark matter for the first time. Sorry, I just had to throw that out there.
The description of it.
Who knows, man? I mean, if this is indeed, you know, an extra dimensional creature or an extra universal creature or that kind of thing, the technology is just so far ahead of us that there's no way we'd be able to figure it out. You know,
we can't.
It's magic. It's magic.
To us, it is. Yeah, we're cargo cult. You know, we can try and replicate it with plastic swords.
It's divine. It's something from the gods. When we would see things in the past that we didn't understand, the first thing we want to say is, "Oh my God, it's the Virgin Mary," or it's this or it's that, and these different things, because they want to take it within their, what they call a cargo cult, where you're taking something that you see, something that you understand, and using that logic to go ahead and apply to what you're describing, because you're seeing something that you don't know how to describe, and you're scrambling from all the things you possibly know about.
What Jacques Vallée says was that those where they did see, you know, like the version of in Guadalupe and the one in 1917 with that mass effect, he's saying that all those phenomena are genuine at the time, that those apparitions, you know, did present themselves in that way to elicit a reaction out of humanity to guide them in certain directions. So it's not, I don't think so much as mistaking, and there's plenty of that, definitely mistaking things, but on those mass sightings like that Jacques Vallée had especially spoke about, they actually did appear, and they appeared of what that civilization could relate to and what their expectations were. And it played toward that, it seems, to manifest to reality what their expectations of what they would encounter would be for that civilization at that time. So it's, you know, that things that were relevant 200 years ago or even 100 years ago in the United States are now, you know, like with Christianity, it's dropping about 10% in 10 years to be about, between Christians and Catholics is about 75% of the U.S. population now, whereas 10 years ago it was about 85. So that's continuing to decline. So something has got to come up to take its place. So
and is anybody surprised with Pedogate and all the things that they had go on, and you know they were, it wasn't just all the old people dying. There were people leaving for what if you want to call it, the mask came off the organization, and people are starting to see it. And then again, last year we had that report of thousands of little kids up in Canada who were at orphanages for the indigenous kids. They would take them away from their parents, from their reservations, and ship them off to these, reform schools, whatever it is, to give them, knowledge. It sounds like the schools that they have in China. And what happened to the people in the end of it? They all ended up getting killed off, and they basically, it's genocide against a population.
Essentially.
Yeah.
It's essentially what it is.
It's something that's there, and it's something we wish it wasn't there, something that's not part of things. But thank God we haven't seen this going on with the non-human intelligences. Worst case, yeah, there's things going on where we've got stuff happening with abductions, but there are 100,000 kids who go missing every year in the United States that they can never go ahead and find. So there are some things that are missing that are kind of out there that are under our radar that humanity, at least in our country, isn't actually going ahead and paying attention to. So whether it's that or not, they may just be guilty of, they're multidimensional creatures. They can fly anywhere across the galaxy, and they want to steal cows.
No, that's still elicited response, because like we've seen, they are only observed when they want to be observed, and in only the locations they want to be observed at. And it's like, if they wanted to monitor us, they wouldn't even have to be seen. If they were trying to survey the planet, they could do that from space. They could do it through all of our cell phones. We would never know they were here at all. They don't have to make their presence known. They are doing that for a specific purpose that we don't understand yet. We may not completely ever understand it, but it's here, and we need to take notice of it and try and understand it. If it is conveying a message, we need to get that and figure out what it is.
Yeah. We have to figure out what records were they trying to steal from the admin department on the systems and everything that were there, because they were in that building for a reason. It's not like they're just popping up. Rob, you just made a great observation where you went and said, is they will hide themselves and only reveal themselves when they want to be seen. So almost from the stuff that went on, it's almost kind of saying, hey guys, look, I was here, and I'm going to run back to the area where I was doing something, try and figure out what the hell I was doing, because there's a reason behind it. And if they did go through the systems and they did go ahead and actually muck with stuff within whatever was there, who's going to know?
We've got all those accounts of them turning systems on and off, nuclear, warheads, even, in the silos and things. We don't, he can't articulate what was still in some of those buildings. We don't know the nature of what they could have been tampering with, but somebody else might come forward that in the same building, even, or a parallel, that might come forward after his testimony and say, hey, I had a similar encounter with that type of being. Because this is a pretty unique case that we haven't really seen a description of what you call a shadow person before like this, and from a reliable source that was in a very well lit area with no exits, locked down completely. That really eliminates a lot of possibilities. And no, like you said, you can't prove it, but you're a credible source of information. So you have to give some validity to your testimony, and try and build a hypothesis from there. And there are probably other people that have encountered the same. But if you were listening to it and never saw it back then at the coffee table on break, what would you have thought of that person?
Of somebody just running past.
Yeah. If you sat down after seeing this for lunch and say, hey, guess what I just saw?
I don't know, man. It's I don't know. I probably would have been like, okay, are you sure you saw that?
Over the stress lately, you might want to see the doctor. Make sure you're okay, man. You're a solid dude and all, but I'm worried about you.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the whole thing I brought up about cows and how it happens to horses and other things? I mean, there's so much speculation. There's not really any factual stuff we know about that. It's hard to know anything. Any thoughts on it, Adrian?
My personal speculation is they use cows and other animals as a way of like monitoring our kind of diets, our evolution kind of deal. Because if you've not noticed, we humans as a species has been developing cancers and more deadly things as we progress, right?
You blow off enough nuclear warheads, and all that
Yeah.
radiation goes into the atmosphere, cycling around Earth, and it goes down into our water and everything else. Gee, I wonder what the hell's going to happen.
And I do have
So
maps of the fallout from Trinity of the United States. And remind me to pull that out because it shows the hot spots of where a lot higher incidence of cancer emerged in those fallout places directly because of the Trinity explosion,
Right.
because of where it drifted and seeded. And also from Chernobyl, we had fallout in the United States, and we can go and pull those maps and see the higher incidence, and we might be able to corroborate the cattle mutilations with the locations that had
Radiation.
elevated radiation because of the fallout that we know
Yeah.
about.
But don't forget, when they're harvesting out the cheeks, there's a special kind of stem cell that can be much programmed into a bunch of different things, and there may be a reason for it. And the other things that's really interesting is the blood that they pull out of it. And there's not a drop left within them, but there's no sign of blood, anything at the scene. And hey Google, how much blood does a cow contain?
On the website researchgate.net, they say the circulating blood volume in healthy cow is 52 to 60 milliliters per kilogram of body weight. Total blood volume in adult cow is 27,000 to 36,000 milliliters. To find out more, look for the link in your Google Home or Google
Okay, Google,
Assistant.
stop. So 27,000. Okay, let's go with the middle number. Let's call 30,000 milliliters to gallons. That's easy. Yeah, we're on the regular system here in America. 30,000 milliliters to gallons. 8 gallons of blood, approximately.
Damn.
That's a lot of blood. And there's nothing there. It's all gone. So who knows where that's going through and everything. We're kind of getting off into a different area of the topic. And just to recap the conversation, everything we've had going on here today. Today we've had, I'll reset the room. We've had ADRIAN Reisters, right?
Reister. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Meister, the Reister.
Reister.
We got ADRIAN Reister here, who is a former member of the Air Force. Thank you for your service. Just like Rob is a member of the former member of the
Marine Corps,
of the Marine Force, and you were dealing with nuclear.
I'll be right back.
All right.
Sure, yeah.
I gotta get up.
Yeah.
Cool, man. We'll be here.
Yeah. I was just closing.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, somebody was asking why they would blow chunks of horses around. I don't think we're dealing with just one entity, and I think if that were a actual artifact of a non-human encounter, I really have to question if that was actually
Jim Chambers is here.
the phenomena doing that, because even if they kill
Jim
something,
Chambers. Hey, Jim Chambers, is this the Jim Chambers down from near Tacoma, Washington, and you're a former optical, and you're a former engineer, and you build all different kinds of robots and do stuff for observing ET, especially in your backyard with your psionics? No, different Jim. Well, sorry about that, Jim. I got excited there.
It's okay. I've heard of two possible potential human dissections or mutilations, I guess, and a few more killed, but from lasers. But I don't, and getting rough, in abductions, but not just blood and guts horror type thing. I've never seen a true account of that. It was documented.
Yeah, we just gotta. I just realized that the sensor nannies went off in my brain, saying, "Oh God, we're talking about this. We're using the word and we're using the other word. Now we're bringing humans into. We got to be careful."
Yeah. Yeah, it's like crop circles. There's a lot of authenticity, and some of it's not. It's hard to sort out what from what. And like I say, like with megalithic research and things, sometimes it's a process of elimination of figuring out what it's not, but we really can't figure out what it is. But what's the history of this? Where can we authenticate a parallel that we do have authentication on, or at least a good, credible accounting of? So
all I can hear at this point right now is Pinocchio from Shrek 2, the air. and or something with the air was Pinocchio saying, "I can tell you where it's not,"
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know where it's not. He's not, yeah. So that's what it kind of comes into, being able to talk around it and be able to get to it. And there's a bunch of things that we don't know necessarily what they all are and everything that was there. Let me go ahead. X1 just showed up. Welcome, X1. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for sending across that cool video link last night. I greatly appreciate it at this point. Aha. Good show tonight. Thank you, Dell Likens Jr. I think our guest will be coming back in a second. In the meantime, let me go ahead and go across to the back room, and let's see if I can figure out. I can go back from here. We can tell everybody who we got for super chats coming in tonight as we're getting ready to close this out. We're already hit by ad suitability. How nice. Your show may have had certain things that do not meet your advertiser's friendly. It must have been the mutilation word. Sorry. I guess butchering is all right. Harvesting. Yeah. That's okay. We're fine on that level. It's not like you're saying we're going to kick you out or anything like that. But going back into the channel's back end, it has been a bunch of people throwing in super chats tonight, and who they all were. I didn't write one of them down, but I've got a button I can go ahead and click and be able to see it. That David Spaced Out Radio code. We got a bunch of them tonight. We got Spaced Out Radio, Daryl Zernick, the Chad Smith Podcast, Daryl Zernick again, Tom King, Nick, Daryl Zernick again, Linda Thompson, and Daryl Zernick again. I think Daryl gave 4 times tonight. Absolutely. We appreciate everybody coming out tonight, talking about this. And, it was as much of, if you want to call it, surprised to have Adrian on here that he popped up. He must have saw the tweet I put out for the show. Hey, look, the tweets actually work sometimes.
Yeah, or in the search results on YouTube. But yeah, he was looking for an outlet to get his voice heard. And it takes a lot of work to have a coincidence like that.
Yeah,
I don't see it as a coincidence. I just think things, call it what you want. It aligned that this was something that was beneficial.
Yeah.
You move forward with it.
And he's on Twitter, which so am I. And I put that tweet out there today. I'm not sure if he was following me or not yet, but I actually did go ahead. I tagged it with news, UFO, UAP, and UFO Twitter. So the hashtags, if he wasn't in part of, either that or one of the people who re-shared the video, opened his eyes to us, which is something I greatly appreciate.
Yeah, and he's going to be pleasantly surprised. He wanted to be heard, and I think he's going to be heard in short order.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people will be contacting you to say, "Hey, man, let's talk about this."
Yeah.
We heard you on Thomas's show.
Yeah, well, I'll get you across to David Spaced Out Radio and some other people if they're interested. And there's nothing, I guess get ready to be like that cheerleader who gets passed around the football team, as I like to sometimes equate it to. And I see a laugh on that one because sometimes you have to look at it. What I want to do is I want to thank Adrian. Hang out until after we're done. We'll talk again after the show's over. I want to thank Adrian, Adrian the Meister Reister. Thanks for coming out here tonight. Again, Rob Heatherly, also known as Robin Hood 1966. Thanks for coming in tonight. It's been a great show. More importantly, I want to thank the audience for coming out here tonight, because as Marvin Dale Likens Jr. is saying, it was a good show tonight. I would say this is a great show tonight. Sometimes you have to go with the flow of things, and it went really well. Now, for the people who are still in the chat right now, by the way, how did you find us? I have to ask. That I was doing the show on you. Twitter?
Yeah, Chris Sharp actually messaged me on Twitter that you were doing this, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go take a look."
Oh, there you go. Cool. So it was one of the people that follows me. Cool, nice. And we're trying to figure out was the hashtagging I was doing, but it was great that Chris Sharp let us know this is going on, because it was a real exciting time to be able to talk about it, to hear about this stuff, to get some of those little details that a lot of time you're not going to hear on other podcasts, because we like the technical part of things. We like the engineering side of stuff. And eventually when you're looking at this thing, it's just, trying to spur that memory and get the information to come out, and you did a really great job. I appreciate that. And now everyone in your audience and our audience loved everything you were saying. It was really, really well received. On that note, still in the chat right now, I want to thank Mr. Bob Berkins. Actually, Bob Berkins. There we go. Brown Top Flop, Daryl Zernick, Ingrid Cold. Here we go. There we go. Got the music playing. Jenny White Bear, Jim Chambers, John Music, Linda Thompson. Actually, Linda Thompson from the start of the show. Marvindale Likens Jr., Michael Boyle, Michael Elwell, Pam McSee, Pontificator, Robin Heatherly, Robin Hood, 1966. You're also back in the chat. Adrian was in the chat as well. I believe we had Jan here, Pam here. Pam McSee was here as well. Julie Farrell was there in a bit earlier as well. It was a great, awesome time tonight. And on that, I will see everybody over, maybe some of you over on Spaced Out Radio. And again, I want to say, as I usually end this show, saying, eyes open, no fear. Be safe, everyone. And as always, we'll catch you on the flip side.